Hello, everybody. This is Emily Robinson. I am doing my identity reflection for the American College Student. First, I would like to talk about a developmental theory that we have discussed that relates to my undergraduate experience and helps to explain it a bit. I want to talk about Baxter McGolda's theory of self-authorship. So as I progressed throughout my time in undergrad, I developed who I was. I was able to find that what I believed in and held as true, and also I figured out how I operated in relationships with others. So as a first year and second year, I tried to live according to my way of life before college, um, and then just figuring out what needed to change and what could remain the same to align with who I wanted to be. And so eventually I did come to a crossroads. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to major in. I was very confused and disappointed in myself because I couldn't figure that out. But as a junior and senior, I felt confident in deciding what I believed in, what I was doing with my life, and I was willing to defend myself. And so even though relationships came and went and I waged internal battles with myself, I came into I felt I was supposed to be, and I was prepared for the next stage of my life. So, I want to talk about three identity markers for myself in undergrad. I am female, Christian, and I identify as upper middle class. So, to identify as these things in undergrad, I honestly didn't have to worry about much. I was part of a Christian sorority called Sigma Alpha Omega. I participated very actively in Wesley, which is a student ministry. Being a female, I felt like I was guided more towards girly majors, so more towards those in the liberal arts and education. I wound up majoring in human development and family science. Money really wasn't an issue, so I did have like the money that I earned over the summers as spending money, and everything else was pretty much taken care of for me. I lived on campus housing for my first and second year, and then for my latter 2 years, I did live in an apartment off campus. And I did go on 2 mission trips with my student ministry, which were really fun, but I did have to fundraise a lot of the money because they were thousands of dollars worth. And so my identity as a female and a Christian and belonging to upper middle class, they did evolve throughout my undergraduate career. As a female, I became more comfortable navigating Athens. For example, techniques, if it was dark or if I was in a more unsafe area. I became more aware of my gender role socialization and just gender role expectations that were held of myself and for just females in general. I became more aware of sexism. That was interesting to become aware of. Class-wise, I became, well, let's say I just realized and understood my privilege a whole lot more once I was able to compare myself to my peers around me. And then as a Christian, honestly, nothing hindered me. I grew in my faith throughout my time in undergrad. So I did have a lot of privileges correlated with my identity, but I did also have some challenges with the way people perceived me. So with my class, the privileges were pretty abundant. I didn't have any student loans, and I didn't have to work during the school year. My parents paid for my fees and my housing and my food because I had Zell Miller Scholarship, which took care of all of my tuition. And so occasionally I would help out with the cost of my books. A downside to that, people thought I just had everything handed to me, which it saved a lot of money to be an in-state student and having my tuition paid for, but also people just assumed that, but they really didn't know what was going on inside of my family. It just kind of appeared like everything was, oh yes, there's so much money to throw around, but that wasn't always the case. Like my parents did struggle at times to get all that paid. As a Christian, the privileges, nobody really questioned my beliefs. Major religious holidays, I didn't have school. Wesley, my student ministry, they use the Tate Student Center, which is basically the student union on campus, and they use the whole top floor of the building, which is pretty big. My student ministry was really popular around campus. I wasn't harassed for practicing or displaying my faith or my religion. I could talk about my beliefs in class during a class discussion, and I didn't really have to defend that or explain it to someone. People pretty much got the general gist of what Christianity was. As a downside of being a Christian in undergrad, people assumed I was just a stereotypical Christian, that I was closed-minded. I hated the LGBTQ population. I was going to try to convert them. I wasn't interested in learning about or tolerant of accepting other religions, which all those things are completely untrue, but that's also something that comes along with being a Christian in this day and time because of some of the negativity that is associated with extremists. Also, people just thought I was a goody two-shoes. They were kind of confusing religion with me having morals. As a female, a lot of people just assumed that I wanted the MRS degree, that I was just at school to have an easy girly major and just look for a boyfriend. But also a downside of being a female in undergraduate, especially at such a large campus as Georgia, there was a lot of fear of sexual assault, that something was going to happen to me if I was in a certain situation, or at night I was also carrying pepper spray, or I would talk on the phone with one of my parents, just being constantly vigilant, just having that reminder in the back of my head that something could happen, and things do happen on college campuses to females, whether they're really inviting it or not. And then also a downside, my major is very heavily based in sociology and psychology, but because we learned about family and relationships and the way that people work, people just called it like the mom degree. So that was something like just constantly having to defend my major and saying that it is like academic and there is an educational purpose to it. But an upside of being a female in undergraduate, there was more of me than there were guys. So sometimes that just was reassuring to be like, yes, I am a proud, confident young woman getting a degree. And so are all these other young ladies around me. It was kind of hard finding an upside of being a female during this time, but that's one that I kind of thought about. And so, honestly, I had undergraduate really easy. Now that I look back and reflect upon it, but I wouldn't take back my time for anything because those 4 years were very developmental for me. I learned a lot about myself and about others, and I felt kind of bad working on this assignment because I was like, I have it so easy compared to so many other people, but that's the thing, I can't change who I am, but I can be aware of the privileges that have been bestowed upon me and just learn about other people's stories and other people's experience. But I want to say thank you, and I enjoy getting to show this to y'all.